Liberty in our lifetimes in a free state of our own. That's the vision. That's the dream. We are building it in New Hampshire. I'm Eric Brakey, your host and renegade statesman for the Porcupine Report. Welcome to your source for porcupine news and free-range conversation on matters of liberty. All right, let's hop into the show. Hey there, all you porcupines. This is your host, your renegade statesman, your executive director of the Free State Project, Eric Brakey. Thank you for joining us this evening for this episode coming out Wednesday, September 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. like we do every single week with a new episode on all of the Free State Project. Well, not all of the social media platforms, the ones that allow videos that can go up to an hour. So on Facebook, on the platform formerly known as Twitter, on YouTube, on Odyssey, I believe we're up on, and on all of your favorite podcasting apps, whether that be Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you consume your podcasts. You know what you can do to support the show? You can go ahead and you can like and share or retweet or comment or whatever makes sense for whatever platform you are consuming this content on, whether it's the audio version or the video version of the show. It's appreciated to help us extend our reach new people. And frankly, the conversations that we're having here are awesome. And anyone who loves liberty, I'm sure, would love to listen in. So really, if you don't share this show with your friends and family who love liberty, you must not really love them. Right? You're not giving them the opportunity to enjoy all this great content. So if you really love your friends, your family, your neighbors, your just your acquaintances who you don't even know very well, but maybe they like freedom, tell them about the Porcupine Report and share this in your news feed and your places so you can share the show, help us extend the reach, build our audience, and maybe help us get some more wonderful people who love freedom to give a thought to maybe New Hampshire is the place to be. So on today's episode, we're going to, we've got a returning guest I'll be bringing on in just a moment, but a few things I want to share. If you are not currently subscribed to the Free State Project newsletter, you're missing out. I write this newsletter personally at the end of every single month, capturing so many, not everything that goes on in the Free State. There's so much going on, you can't capture everything, but you're missing out if you are not getting the newsletter. So sign up for that at fsp.org. And while you're there, always be sure to check out the community calendar of all the events that are happening every single day in the Free State. Now, one of those events that happened this past weekend is one thing I was telling you about in past episodes of the show, a personal passion project that I've wanted to do for a while. We had a full reading of William Shakespeare's Star Wars: Verily a New Hope, with many of your favorite Free Staters reading many of the roles that you know from the movie, but read in iambic pentameter. And it was a lot of fun, from Luke and Leia and Darth Vader. In fact, our guest that we're going to be welcoming on in a little bit was the one who read for the infamous Darth Vader. We will be talking about that in a bit. But a few things that are coming up this week in the Free State include this Thursday. If you are in New Hampshire and you want to lend a helping hand and spend some time in community with other Free Staters, helping to do outreach to more potential movers, then we are having our monthly volunteer party this Thursday at the Quill in Manchester. Check that out on the community calendar at fsp.org. And also, if you are interested in learning more about video content production, this is a real treat. Actually, the producer for this program, the Porcupine Report, who is also a very talented filmmaker in her own right, who's producing an entire documentary on the Free State movement. She is leading a video editing and production class. It's free to attend. And you'll also be helping us process a lot of the video content we've got to get out from PorcFest this last year. So it's a good two birds, one stone moment, right? You get to help us process content, and you get to learn some valuable video editing skills from a real professional and expert in this field that you can apply in your own way. All those events up on the fsp.org community calendar. So check it out. That'll be this Saturday. All right. Now I'm going to welcome our guest on the show. Look, if you are a regular viewer or listener of this show, like, this is the only guy who's been on the show now for 3 times. He's a recurring guest. I enjoy every time I have a conversation with him. There's many things you could say about the man. His name is Dennis Pratt. Some call him like the Free State movement's like resident philosopher, or I don't know. If you follow his tweets, he's got many profound tweets on freedom and liberty. And he's always someone who's building new things, building communities, building groups, building events. And of course, he is our lead producer this year on the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, and has produced PorcFest 3 times in past years. Anyway, we're going to talk about all that and many more things. Welcome to the show, Darth Vader, also known as Dennis Pratt. Dennis, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I could see that you were trying to maybe do the Darth Vader.
I was trying to do the Darth Vader thing. Yeah, I didn't do it during the reading because it killed my throat. And that was a 3-hour reading that you did. It's so funny to have the new executive director say, I'm going to create a thespian group. Now, of course, libertarians aren't particularly known for their acting ability, but very quickly we got a group together of about 60 people, and over 20 showed up for that reading. It was a 3-hour reading. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people going, "Hey, we got to be doing that again." I was just pushing you off air to do Antigone. Which is a great story, Greek tragedy story of a sister whose brother is killed in battle, and the city fathers refused to bury him and want his corpse to rot out on the battlefield, and she feels that she has a higher calling than the government's law, and she must go out to bury him. So I consider that to be a great libertarian story. But of course, Star Wars is also a great libertarian story. With the villain being myself. I got to channel my inner Sith Lord, my inner villain, my inner authoritarian, my inner dark side. And since I've actually been the subject of a lot of villainy from the state, it was actually kind of easy to do.
Well, Dennis, it was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you encouraging and helping to organize that with me. One thing I've mentioned it in a few different places, and something people know about me. Before I was in politics, I was the love of my life was theater. I was a professional actor. I fell in love with theater like in high school. I got my BFA in acting and theater performance in college. I moved to New York City. I was working as a professional actor. I was starting to have a little success until, that Ron Paul campaign came along, and I just felt like, I feel like I need to step up and not just be a part-time player. I need to go all in and make a difference. But I'll come back to theater. I'll come back to acting when this presidential campaign is done. That didn't really happen. A whole 12 years of my life went by. I got to do some community theater in my own area. But I'll tell you, the deeper I got into politics, running for the United States Senate, running for Congress, and running as a Republican, heaven forbid, right? When I found it was very hard to go home back to the theater communities I had been so involved with, because one thing people tend to know, I think, about theater communities is that they're not known for being right of center. In fact, they're not even known for being slightly left of center. In fact, usually the moderates are socialists. That's the moderate position. And if you're a little less moderate, maybe you're a full-on communist. Not that I love those people. I just think they're oftentimes misguided politically. Loved they would see the error of their ways, but it became hard to do kind of this, particularly in the post-COVID era, right? When people lost their minds during COVID, right? Post-Trump, post-COVID, it became very hard to kind of go back to these communities and try to create art and have that kind of sense of community again with people. So the fact that I could come to the Free State, I could come to New Hampshire, where there's this concentration of so many libertarians, and of course, not everyone in the Free State movement is about the performing arts, right? A lot of people, their thing is programming or things that I don't know anything about. But there are enough of us here that there is a enough people to build a group around whatever niche interest you have. And that's really amazing. I was so excited with absolutely no rehearsal time whatsoever that people came out, they read this 5-act play, they all got really into the roles. I read the role of Luke Skywalker. People can, since I assigned the roles, people can read into that whatever they want. But it was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing more. And we did, of course, Star Wars: Verily a New Hope, but there's 3 in the series, right? There is by this playwright who rewrote the movies as Shakespearean plays. There's The Empire Striketh Back, and there is also The Jedi Doth Return, and he does the other trilogies too. I'm not sure if people have different feelings about the other trilogies. I'm sure that the play versions are hilarious. I haven't read them all yet, but certainly I want to do more like this, and I think that the Seacoast area is a great place for it, right? Because it's like that's almost kind of like almost kind of like a performing arts hub of New Hampshire, right? I would think, with Portsmouth and things there. So Antigone, I'm totally open to hearing. I would say there's actually a play that I really do want to read at some point. This is Cato, Cato by Joseph Addison. This is the play that George Washington staged at Valley Forge to inspire the troops when they were kind of going through kind of the hardest times of the American Revolution. And it's about, the first Liberty senator. It's about the first Liberty legislator, Cato the Younger, who stood up to the tyranny of Julius Caesar. So if we're looking for plays with a good Free State angle to it, that, Antigone, and of course we always got these Star Wars ones to come back to. So
yeah, I mean, I like Cato. I have a Belgian tavern named Ron Pa that you'll see in various videos around the Free State. But my first Belgian tavern, it was actually named Cato. And the funny thing was that he used to fight all the time with this massive boxer who was named Caesar. So the two would fight every single time they saw each other. They go, ah! I go, this is like, thousands of years of anger building up.
Yeah. It's I wonder how Cato and Caesar would feel being reincarnated as dogs and encountering each other in the out in the world. Anyway, plenty of light banter we can do about Star Wars and theater. Anyway, I thank you to everyone who came out, and I hope that if you missed it, this is something we'll do again. So pay attention, and I think maybe there's talk about doing this maybe every 3 months or so. So maybe come around December, we'll do another another reading of something.
I think your point though of the diversity that we have here in New Hampshire is really important, and how things that are closed off to libertarians are not closed off here. And I'll just use an example. We moved near Portsmouth because my wife is very artistic. She paints and she plays her violin and she plays her viola.
Oh, we all heard her playing the viola during Star Wars. She played beautifully the Imperial March and the I'm not sure what the other song is called, but
yeah. But it's I mean, she played both the violin and the viola during that. So she tried to join a singing troupe here in Dover, and they lost their minds, and they basically said, "Oh no, you have to have vaccines and you have to have masks." And this was well after we knew that none of these worked. And she talked to them, and they said, "No, I'm sorry, that's." It was their shibboleth. It was their show that we are all one. We are the good chosen. Yeah. And she was a little bit upset about that, but she belongs now to a group called the Free State Acoustics, and they're playing up in North Country. You're going to be hearing them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, we're going on a North Country tour in October, right?
And and we just had Artsy Fartsy. So
I was there for it. My first Artsy Fartsy. It was great.
so it's like, okay, the authoritarians are going to do authoritarian things, and they're going to prevent you from doing this and that. But we have a large enough community that we're insulated from that. We can still do our own stuff.
By the way, I will say, for those who don't know what Artsy Fartsy is, this is apparently, it happens a few times a year. It's hosted at the Quill Social Club in Manchester, and it's basically like I want to say like a talent show. Maybe talent show doesn't quite cover it. It's fancy. It's fancy, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. In fact, people enjoy the joke of it being fancy. But we heard people do stand-up comedy. I shared a few monologues, including I always have memorized the V for Vendetta speech that people wanted to hear, which is one of my favorites to share. And boy, Chris Lopez, our welcome director, I didn't know she could play guitar like that. She was awesome. Anyway, for all the people who are watching and listening right now, and they're wondering like, well, how do I get to see all these wonderful performances? I mean, that's the thing. They happen in the Free State, and you got to be here to experience it. But building on kind of what you were saying earlier, I mean, I remember even when I was in Texas, right? I went to Texas for a year and a half after my congressional race didn't go the way I had hoped. And I took a job with Young Americans for Liberty. I was down there, and I thought, you know what? I finally have a little bit of time when I'm not running for office and feeling like the weight of that on my shoulders. And I'd always told myself I was going to get back into theater when I had the opportunity. And I thought, all right, I'm in Texas. I was in Austin, Texas. I was like, all right, I'm going to go find some theater to do in Texas, right? And every like improv group or everything else, no, you had to have your mandated vaccines, and you got to prove that you'd taken all the jabs, and you had to wear a mask. Like, how do you do theater wearing a mask? This is crazy, right? This is cult-like behavior. So even in the supposedly free state of Texas, right, it was hard to find community with people to do these sorts of things. But of course, Texas doesn't actually live up to its reputation as much as people like to think it does. But New Hampshire, because of the liberty concentration strategy, right, you can build what you want. And that I do want to kind of pivot to something that you say, Dennis, and you did, and we are going to get the video from PorcFest out in the near future. We're working on it. But you did at Soapbox Idol, you gave a speech. Your rant was build, don't bitch. Mm-hmm. And I love that, frankly. I remember when I was at Young Americans for Liberty, we had a saying, knocking doors for liberty is better than winning Facebook arguments, right? People get consumed by like complaining online about what someone else is doing, or they're not doing it the way that I would do it. It's like, fine, go and do it then. Do it how you want it to be done, right? Go and do something productive rather than just complaining about other people. And Yale's done that to great effect. They've mobilized people to knock millions of doors and get liberty candidates elected, including here in New Hampshire. But I guess talk to us a little bit more about this philosophy of build, don't bitch.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects of it, but the question is, you have a limited amount of lifetime, and the question is, how much do you really care about your goals? I mean, I care about liberty a lot, and I can spend my lifetime bitching about the lack of liberty, or I could actually build liberty. And I think that's one of the beauties of New Hampshire. I understand in authoritarian 49, you may be more tempted to bitch rather than build, because you're building on a sand that the tide is just going to be taking away. Here in the granite state, we're building on granite. We actually are building on something where it's going to stand. I mean, I'm almost up on 6 years here, and 6 out of 43 years as a libertarian, and most of the stuff that I've done in the past is all washed away. I have out of almost 2,000 articles written on Quora about libertarian ethics, I think about 1,500 are still up there. That's probably the largest mark I have. But here it's just so much fun because I'm building things and then I'm watching other people build on top of that. And of course, I'm building on top of what my predecessors built. Now, we still do have people, here, even in the Free State, who bitch because they think, oh, Joe ought to be doing this and Fred ought to be. Well, you're not Joe. You're not Fred. Don't tell them what to do. Do what you want to do. We actually just had an example of this just today. And I was just like so proud. People were complaining about one of our groups doing something that they thought that was detrimental. And I did the whole build, don't bitch rant at them. And they go, oh, well, okay. So they actually built a different communication channel. Now their communication channel is about the pleasures of working with goats and chickens and other, basically homesteading type of stuff. But I go, that's cool as heck, because we didn't have that. Now we have it. We actually have a channel that focuses on livestock, on homestead. We have a really active homesteading group, but we don't communicate that externally. So here, this person, instead of going into complaining about what someone else does, and frankly, the libertarians here are some of the biggest muleheads you'll ever meet. So you're not going to change their minds. You can make a recommendation, and sometimes that might be taken up. That might be, but if instead of wasting your time, bitch, and just build what you want. A lot of times, the things that you notice that are problems are really a calling to you. If you're willing to accept it, if you're willing to be powerful enough to affect the universe, that's a calling to you to do something. And it doesn't count just bitching about it. So for people external, there's two ways of building. I really believe the concentration strategy. I've tried all 25 plus strategies, and I think the concentration strategy is the best one. I think New Hampshire is the best example of that. But we will help you build concentration strategy in your state, even. So don't bitch about DC and I can't control this and I can't control that. Build a real liberty enclave where you are, or come to our enclave and see and build on top of what we're building. So life is just too precious. It's too short. And the people who understand liberty and who see the importance of liberty, you're too precious to be wasting your lives. We are too few. We are too few. So I want to save us, and I want us to be extraordinarily impactful. And you're not going to be impactful bitching. You are going to be impactful by building. So we have ways of, you come here and there's lots of opportunities. I mean, you mentioned something that's happening on Thursday. And you mentioned something that's happening on Saturday. But on Friday, we have a New Hampshire Liberty Forum volunteer meeting. Anybody who's interested in helping out with building the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. We have a totally new concept. Really excited about it. And, if you were here, you could just come in, jump in and take on a big role and build something. This is something that I'm actually hoping that's going to have long legs and it's going to have a gigantic impact. And you could be on the ground floor of that. And you could go back and say, I helped build this.
Now, Dennis, I will tell you, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but I want to make sure our audience is aware. Since we initially announced that the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, the new concept for this year of discussing problem solutions for building liberty for real societies and learning from past experiments that have failed, as well as ongoing experiments that are happening, there's been a lot of buzz about it. I'm hearing a lot of people who are eager to present a problem solution, to talk through, or to just come in and hear. I know I had the executive director of the Greater Idaho Movement on this show a few weeks back, and I was talking to him about it after. And I just thought, this is a great example of, someone who's doing something outside New Hampshire. Of course, we want people to want as many people focused on New Hampshire, but what they're doing is so innovative with trying to shift, use actual practical laws and politics to shift their border, to shake off the shackles of their Portland, Oregon government and to join a government that is relatively more free and respecting of their freedoms and their liberties. Certainly not, Idaho is not as free as New Hampshire. It should always be noted, but certainly relative to Oregon itself, it's pretty good by comparison. But of course, we have so much we can learn from other people doing those kinds of experiments, because of course I always am thinking about, why can't Maine do that and the second district break away and join New Hampshire? More power to them, and Eastern Oregon as they're experimenting with it. But obviously, but outside New Hampshire, inside New Hampshire, there's a lot of buzz about this building, and certainly folks who are in New Hampshire, who are interested in coming out to help build that, and not just bitching about all the tyrannical 49 and all the policies we live under, but how do we build liberty for real societies? They should come out, right?
Yeah, and that's a great example of the target segment for that are the people who are thinkers, the more intellectual, the people who like to brainstorm, who like to think of how do I get through this obstacle? It's definitely not the bitchers, right? New Hampshire Liberty Forum is not for people who bitch. New Hampshire Liberty Forum is for people who say, there's people who are talking about fixing DC. Okay, there's those people. They're wasting their time. And there's people who are talking about the pie in the sky science fiction liberty. Okay, but what about the people who are out here on emerging liberty for real societies and the problems that they're facing right now, building real liberty? Right? It's not reforming DC, which is unreformable. It's building real liberty. What are the obstacles that we're doing, and how can we move them from here to here? That is extraordinarily useful, and that's something that we're going to be doing. And so that's a great opportunity for the people who are thinkers and really are excited about liberty. I want New Hampshire to be the nexus of all liberty for real societies, and so that includes Prospero, and that includes Montelibro, and the Free Province project, and just all the free cities, and all. We want to support all of these burgeoning liberty for real societies. And we think that New Hampshire Liberty Forum will be that center. So if you're at all interested in that, in an intellectual, how do we do it? How do we actually roll up our sleeves and build this? I'm going to come up with solutions, and I'm going to propose solutions, and I may even come and help you produce that solution. That's just a great opportunity, and it's one of I was trying to write down. I think there's 5 or 6 different opportunities for coming to New Hampshire, and that is just a great one if you're in that segment. The thinker, the intellectual. If you want to write a paper, absolutely fantastic. Please come write a paper. We'll publish it. It'll be in our first book. But if you're just a problem solver, come and listen to the problems and say, hey, what about this? What about that? And see where we are on the different various emerging liberty for real societies, and how we can push them onto the next level, and then see what happens the year after. How did they do? So that's just one example. The Free State Project puts on 2 major events, and I'm blessed to have worked as a lead on now both of them. But this is kind of a redesign of the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. I think it matches our positioning a lot better. I also did the redesign on PorcFest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but that's not really, that is less for the intellectual, the thinker. I call it the New Hampshire Liberty Forum more the hacker space for emerging liberty for real societies. It's people who are going to get in there and get dirty and to think about and work on and stuff like that. The Porcupine Freedom Festival is like this simulation of, we talked about DC, and we talked about the pie in the sky. Where's my hand? There's my hand. We talked about the pie in the sky, and here we are. And really, PorcFest is saying, okay, we're kind of headed to here, right? So Liberty Forum is how do we get to here? And PorcFest says, what happened? What might a Liberty Society for real living there for a week actually might feel like? We're not there yet, but what's it like living for real? And so it's very experiential. It's kind of fun. Well, it's a lot of fun. And you have hundreds and hundreds of different events. You have so many people who are there. You can have everything from musical events and arts events to workshops to intellectual events to there's bitching. There's bitching that goes on there. That's a good place for bitching. But then there'll be people like me say, "Hey, let's get something done here. Let's do something here." So that's kind of a range of the two major events that we're doing. The New Hampshire Liberty Forum, which is Thursday through Sunday on April 24th through the 27th, and then Pork Fest, which is a full week. I always get there on Saturday. What's the? Do you know the dates on that?
Oh,
did I put you on the spot?
You would ask me that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, all I know is it's the week of my birthday, which is June 22nd. So whatever that week is, be in New Hampshire, up in Lancaster, and you're gonna have a good time. I can guarantee you, you're gonna have a good time.
But, and I will say right now we are just as we're beginning kind of getting our production team together for New Hampshire Liberty Forum. We're also just starting that process for Pork Fest. Actually, we're going back.
That's tomorrow.
Forth. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to have and by tomorrow, well, at the time this episode is actually being broadcast, we will be in the middle of having our first Pork Fest production meeting because we are recording this episode a day ahead of time. And we're finalizing some things on the theme and the graphics for this year, and we've already gotten a few speakers committed, and we're reaching out to more. But of course, Pork Fest, the beauty of it is there's so many different things going on at Pork Fest. It is right. It's like it's a pop-up society for a week, right? It's not like it's almost a choose your own adventure. You get to go to what hubs you want. You get to build your own hub if you want. You get to go to the main stage events if you want. Or you could completely disregard the main stage events and just stay up in the village and sit around campfires and have s'mores with libertarians. Or you could do if your kids are between the ages of 10 and 18, you get to come and they could do a mock legislature with Senator Eric Brakey, who does a great job with that. There's so many things at Pork Fest. And I love how, as we are kind of re-envisioning New Hampshire Liberty Forum, and as Pork Fest is kind of naturally evolving as it becomes more and more a space where families can participate and be engaged, and there's more content for kids, and it's much more, I think it has a much more family-friendly reputation these days than maybe it did a decade ago. And I love how these events evolve just as our community evolves and our community matures and grows. And I'll tell you, Dennis, your concept for the New Hampshire Liberty Forum that we're running with this year, I think is so great because it fills a niche that I don't see being filled anywhere in, not just in New Hampshire, but in the entire ecosystem around the country, maybe even around the world, of conversations about liberty. Is how do you get over these practical hurdles to a free society? So I think that's why there's a lot of natural buzz about it.
Yeah, we're going to be reaching out to all the think tanks, and we're going to be reaching out to all the emerging Liberty for Real societies. And of course, this is the first year, so people are going to go, "Well, what did you do last year?" And you go, "Well, we didn't really do anything last. We didn't do this last year." So it'll be interesting to see.
We had a great event, but it was different.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see who has the vision to say, "Oh yeah, no, that sounds really good." Because coming in on the ground floor, being in that volume 1 of Emerging Liberty for Real Society book, I think that's going to be really, it's going to be groundbreaking, and people are going to be looking at that and thinking, boy, I wish I had been there for number 1. So I'm really excited about that. But just look at what you just did. So Wednesday is Pork Fest, right? So it's the doers who are actually creating a Pork Fest. Thursday, you said, what's Thursday?
Thursday we have the volunteer party where we are making calls to potential. Actually, right now we're targeting people who came to Pork Fest last year from out of state. We're doing follow-up calls to them. We're sending them postcards, letting them know we're thinking about them. Right. New Hampshire misses them. Friday, we're doing prep for New Hampshire Liberty Forum.
Liberty Forum?
Saturday, we're doing a video production meeting with video production
learn
class.
Learn how to produce like these video snippets and kind of hard hitting fun videos. So and that's just an example of the next 4 days of what porcupines are doing. And is there a time to bitch about that we're being ineffective? No, we're not. We're not being ineffective because we're being so effective. So I actually create a thing called the Porcupine Highlights. I posted on the Free State Project group, which everyone should belong to on Facebook. Even if you don't belong on Facebook, it's the one group that you really ought to join. And you can talk to other people who are thinking about moving to New Hampshire. Join the group, though, not the page. The page, the group is where you can actually post things and talk to people and learn stuff. And when you come out, you tell people you're coming out, and they'll meet with you and talk to you, especially if you've connected to them beforehand. But I posted there, and I also posted on Twitter at Dennis Pratt Free. But what it is I pull out of the public calendar. We have a public calendar that has a lot of events. Every day there's almost one event, and some days we have some days we have like 10 events. There's this funny thing of what Liberty thing am I going to do today? And so far today, this is my 4th Liberty thing that I'm doing.
It's literally my job, Dennis, and I can't get to everything.
So I pull out every single day. If you're here this week, go to this, try this, try this, try this, try this. And then if on this day, on Monday, you don't like this thing, well, look at the calendar, or maybe just go for a lovely drive up in the mountains, or meet one of the people that you met on Discord or Facebook. We have all these different virtual groups. The virtual groups are there, though, not just to chit chat. They're there to meet people so that when you come here, you actually have connections in real life to go out to eat, to go chat with, especially in your area of interest. I'm creating a directory of hubs. Now these are not PorcFest hubs. These are the actual hubs that are in New Hampshire, the actual Liberty hubs in New Hampshire. And the idea there is that, if you come here and you're interested in guns, well, okay, here are a bunch of the gun hubs. Why don't you go shooting with one of them? If you're interested in crypto, here's a bunch of the crypto hubs. Reach out, and even if they don't have an event, people will actually come out and talk to you, and you can chit chat and that type of thing. So it's I know that we have had in the past, we say, oh, come out for PorcFest, as though that is the premiere. I think my belief is that it's much more impactful to come out for what I call a porcupine vacation. And what that is you come out for a full week, and you pretend that you're a porcupine for that week, and you see where we really are, right? PorcFest is, I don't know, 10, 15 years out in the future. Liberty Forum is talking about, it's more for the intellectuals. This is, if you were actually living here, all the different events that you could go to. Now, you're mostly going to be going to the public events. But if you've done what I've told you to, and you've joined the Facebook group, you joined the Discord, you joined the Signal group, you joined the Telegram group, you join all those groups, and where can you find them? You can find them at fsp.org, right, to connect up.
Absolutely.
And you tell Chris Lopez at the office that you're coming, and she'll connect you up with other people. I was running a deal. I'm still running the deal. If you can you get it if you actually DM me, of half price off for a week vacation at the Independence Inn.
At the Independence Inn, which we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah. So, and the Independence Inn is set up right in the center of the southeast corner where most of the activities go. And basically within a half hour, you can hit almost all the different major activities. And so it's a great place to set up for a week. And then you just go and you try out this, you try out that, you try out this. And then, if you want to stay the weekend, you take a trip up to the North Country and see the beautiful leaves. We're going to be taking Eric Brakey up for his first tour of the North Country in a couple of weeks. I've set up this whole trip for him where we're going to be going up. I'm going to take him up Kangamangas Highway, We're going to see the beautiful leaves. Of course, he thinks he's seen leaves in Maine. Well, he's going to see some New Hampshire leaves. Okay, he's going to see some real leaves here, and then we're going to go up to some of the various towns and meet the different porcupine groups in those different towns. And we're going to be going to a new Liberty. We have all these Liberty community centers. We have 6 or 7, depending on how you count. There's a new one opening up, and he's going to be going to the second time that this thing has been open. And we're going to have the Free State Acoustics playing there. He's going to enjoy that and meet in each one. He's going to meet the different North Country people.
That's what I'm most excited about. I got to go up and I met some of the North Country doers when I went up to the welcome wagon for Matt Barney, who's been a long time participant with the Free State Project, but only finally after maybe 20 years has finally made the move. And he moved up into the more North Country area, and it was great to connect with folks up there. And it really does make you realize, kind of within the Free State movement, how there are there's different cultures in the different areas. So we all have these shared basis of values of liberty and the non-aggression principle, but the community in the Manchester area is very different than the community in the Keene area versus the Seacoast area versus the North Country. And more cross-pollination kind of, I think, is healthy. So, but I know that last time you were on, I think this trip kind of came out of, I don't remember what was said exactly. Maybe we were talking about Freedom Palooza or something. I'd made a comment that I hadn't gotten to spend much time up in the North Country yet and meet people. And someone, I guess, in the North Country was listening. Thank you to those who are who watch and listen to this show, and said, "What? Eric hasn't spent much time up here. We're going to do something about that." Well, thank you, Dennis, for being proactive and doing something about it. And we're going to do a nice tour up there. But
you're going to go to one of our larger homesteads, and we're going to have a autumn harvest festival there with another band there. So yeah, you're going to get a good view of the North Country, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm a city boy. I was born and raised in New York City, and I have to say, during PorcFest, when I was producing PorcFest, when I needed a respite, when I needed some downtime, I would head over to the North Country hub, just because it was one of the kind of welcoming, relaxed, no stress, no problem. We're just doing things here. And I loved it. I loved it there. And so that was kind of my hidey hole. I turned off. They couldn't get hold of me. Oh, we can't find the producer. Yeah, I'm in North Country. Sorry.
Well, I think it is a very good thing to note, right? I think that usually when people are coming out to New Hampshire, the big pitch is come to Liberty Forum and come to PorcFest. And of course, we want you to come to Liberty Forum. We want you to come to PorcFest. These are events that we put a lot of time and energy into putting on, and people love them, right? So we keep doing it. And it is a great kind of microcosm of community and focused on particular things. But right, year round there are events going on, so you could literally pick any single week of the year to come and visit New Hampshire and get a taste of what things are like day to day in the Free State with all of these events going on. And I know that one guy who was I guess long-term staying at the Independence Inn came out to the William Shakespeare Star Wars reading, and he didn't know that he was going to be recruited to read for Chewbacca. So that could happen to you on your Porcupine vacation. You think you're just coming he did a great Chewbacca roar.
He's here for a month and he's actually a mover. He's kind of the vanguard, and so he's looking to, he came here. He has a temporary job, and he wanted to stay for a month, so we gave him a great deal at the Independence Inn. And I think it was his first or second day. It may have been his first full day or second full day. No, it was the second full day. Here he is. He's joining, 20 plus Free Staters reading different things on Star Wars, and you can actually get that experience and see what it's like to have a Liberty community around you that's doing all these myriad things. Absolutely fantastic. I do love the Porcupine vacations. When I moved up here, I mean, what first attracted me was Pork Fest, and then I started going to Liberty Forums. But we came up for 3 different weeks during, basically a 5-year period, just to come and check out and stay and get to know people and and that was at a time when we didn't have as many events and we didn't have as much infrastructure, and now we have so much more. I mean, those were kind of the things that really sold me. I mean, I love Pork Fest and stuff, but it seemed like kind of a festival. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to live at a festival. But then all of a sudden, I looked at what living here would really be like. You actually rent a place and you live here for a week, and I go, damn, no, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to live. So I think that's kind of the, I joke. I say, don't go to Disney World for a week. Come to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is the Disney World for libertarians. If you're a libertarian, don't go see Mickey Mouse. Come see the porcupines.
If you are coming here because you want people to bitch about things with, certainly you can find people to bitch about things with. But you can find people anywhere to bitch about things with. But if you want to be somewhere to build something with people, the human resources are here, at least if you want to build something in the direction of freedom and liberty. Boy, I mean, it was like a goal realized, to be able to realize there are people to build even theater here with, who share my values. All right, so we've talked about Porcupine Vacations, we've talked about Pork Fest and Liberty Forum, we've talked about Build Don't Bitch. What are we not talking about yet, Dennis? What's something burning on your mind that in the final, we're approaching the final end of this episode? What's something you want to share with folks?
Well, I will tell you that one of the things that I did as one of my early volunteer efforts was I created and led bus tours around the Free State. So we had one for the Seacoast, we had one for the Merrimack Valley, and then we had one for up in the White Mountains during leaf season. And those are so much fun. But we've almost gotten to the point now where you can actually do that yourself. Now, it was great because you get a bus and you get all these people who are thinking about moving here or who just moved here, right? It was great for new movers too, and they get to meet some of the personalities here. We'd have people hop on the bus, talk for a little bit and then hop off. We talked, of course, about what the crypto community is and what the homesteading community is and what the homeschooling, and we would take you to different Liberty community clubhouses. We take you to Liberty businesses, and you can actually hear the entrepreneur talk about how he started his business here, and so it was a lot of fun. It was a little bit hard on me, so that's the reason I'm not doing it. You get to a certain age, Eric. You don't know about this yet, but you get to a certain age.
I plan to stay young forever, Dennis.
And there's just so many things I could be doing. I mean, maybe someday I'll do it again. But I highly recommend you come up and you actually just set up your own little Free State tour, and each day you head off in a different direction. And I can tell you, what I would do from the Independence Inn. One day I'd head up to the Lakes region. I meet with the Lakes porcupines, and I go on the ferry on Lake Winnipesaukee, and I'd have lunch and dinner in the different towns up there. And then the next day I'd head out to the Seacoast and go to Portsmouth and enjoy the bar scene and the dancing and the music there, and meet up with the Seacoast porcupines. And then I go down to Exeter, and I the next day I spend the day in this cute little town and walk around and I'll meet with the Exeter people. And so I mean, there's just so much, and I haven't even talked about going over to where we have way more Porcupines, which is Manchester area, the Merrimack Valley, and Concord. You can go and visit with the legislators. So I think that it's just absolutely fantastic to do. But here's the thing: you should do it even if you're not thinking about moving here. Even if you're just libertarian, you're just thinking about it, or you're a libertarian, you're saying, how might I be able to do this in my state? Because we offer a program, and we've talked about it here, Eric, to the Freetown Project, and we will help you actually create a concentration strategy in your state. Now, it won't be as big and as magnificent as the Free State Project in New Hampshire, but it's going to give you a taste, and it's going to make you feel that your life is actually going towards a purpose. If one of your deep-seated goals is liberty, I mean, if you don't care that much about liberty, I don't even know why you're watching this. But yeah, if it is, you ought to be coming here just to enjoy yourself, and to maybe think about taking it back, or maybe to think about moving here, and what that would be like for you. How that might change your life.
I would say if you don't love liberty and you're watching it, it's probably because you're Jeannie Deach and you're looking to put me and Dennis on your
Hey, Jeannie. How many lists will we get on in the free haters? It's so funny how honored we feel when the free haters put us on their watch list or their list of extremists. Yeah, we're kind of extremists that we don't believe in slavery. Abolitionists are extremists. That's us.
Yeah. It's funny. She and for those who don't know, Jeannie Deach is a former Democratic state senator in New Hampshire. I believe, I don't know when it was. I don't know all the history. I believe she was voted out of office. She seems to have a deep-seated personal hate for the Free State Project and Free Staters. But of course, we know that love and hate are actually very similar together, right? The opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. So the fact that she spends so much time obsessing about us is, I guess it's an honor to a certain degree. Thank you for all the love, Jeannie. And I'm sure it's driving her crazy hearing that as she watches this program. But she published a piece in like the Manchester Inc. or something. I don't know. I'm still learning the names of all these publications in New Hampshire. But she was like going after me for remarks I gave at Freedom Fest earlier this year with Carla Garrick on the stage there, the main stage. And we were talking about how, in this Atlas shrugged reality that we seem to be living in, where looters and scoundrels are running our government. And, what's the one thing missing? Where is Galt's Gulch? And I said, well, we got some good news for you. It's in New Hampshire. And we proceeded to talk about the concentration strategy and all of that. Anyway, I'm sure she heard those remarks, and she wrote this piece. Can you believe these libertarians want to turn New Hampshire into Galt's Gulch, this place where people escape? Anyway, the fact that it bothers her so much, and I think it's good branding too. I want to lean into it. So yes. If you want to escape from the tyrannical 49, if you are tired of being looted and kicked around and taken for granted by state governments that think they own you and they own your body, the fruits of your labor, then, you can do what Hank Reardon did and Dagny Taggart, and you can say, it's time to go build something somewhere else with people who share our values and our Galt's Gulch. It's right here in New Hampshire. Dennis, I'm giving you the last word.
Well, I was just thinking about how they think that we're so weird, right? We're weird because we think we are concerned with living voluntarily, consensually, towards peace, love, and understanding. That's our weirdness. And yeah, in the authoritarian 49, you're going to feel weird for having these excellent qualities of a human being, these high ethical qualities. In a concentration strategy like New Hampshire, there are others, and you come to New Hampshire Liberty Forum to find out about it. If you want to create your own where you are, contact me, DM me, and I'll talk to you about how to do that. But in that type of concentration strategy, you will no longer be weird. The people who want to enslave others are the ones who are going to be weird, and that's who should be weird.
And to all the enslavers, there are 49 other states that would be glad to establish more enslavement policies, and you can go do that there. But here in New Hampshire, we will build a free state. All right. Thank you, Dennis. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And that is the show. And look, we've had such a conversation about many things, including a lot of the great events that are coming up. Just to reiterate, boy, Wednesday, we're having a meeting for starting to plan Pork Fest for next year. Thursday, we're doing a volunteer night at the Quill in Manchester. Friday, we're at the Independence Inn planning for the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. Saturday, we're having a video editing class that's open to folks. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Where you can learn about all the events that are happening in the Free State is on our community calendar. Maybe not all of them, but all the ones that are publicly available. FSP.org. Check out the community calendar. Check out the events, and maybe plan. If you don't live in New Hampshire, you can plan a visit. We would love to have you. We'd love to help you plan your trip. All right, everyone. Thank you, as always, to our technical producer, Renita. And furthermore, my opinion is the Federal Reserve should be destroyed.